Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pick Six. I'm Jake Varcoe, and today I'm joined by Mete Makarnaci. We are a pair of sports journalists entering the industry, and we're both trying to share our expertise in fantasy sports. Today, we're going to start off by talking about the top six fantasy quarterbacks in our opinions. Mete, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Starting off the quarterbacks is the most important position. So let's get into it.
Yeah, it's really important to get one of those top tier quarterbacks if you want to have success this upcoming fantasy season. This is a quarterback driven league, and it's the same in fantasy sports. My number one guy, it's Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is a superstar stud quarterback, and what separates him from other quarterbacks is his legs. This is a guy who had over 40 touchdowns last season. Josh Allen has been the top fantasy quarterback in back to back years, and he's got an elite arsenal of weapons. He's got players such as Stephon Diggs, he's got Jamison Crowder, he's got Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. He has tons of targets. Josh Allen is my guy for the number one fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I've got Josh Allen too. It's a pretty easy pick for me. Like you said, his legs just separate him from the rest of the league. And his arm strength, it's got to be up there, probably the best in the league. And the only thing I'd say that's like alarming about him is the interceptions. He threw 15 last year, but you gotta live with that at this point. He's definitely the best fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, I mean 15 interceptions, but when you tally up all those extra yards that he fights for, because he's a guy, he's not just going to go down easy. He will fight for every yard. It's not your typical quarterback. He'll fight for every down, every yard, and that's exactly what you want, especially in terms of fantasy football. Who do you got for number two, Mete?
For number two, I'm going Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs. And really, the only thing that separates him and Allen is Allen's legs. Like, I know Mahomes is a great scrambler too, but he just can't compare to Josh Allen. And you might be saying, oh, he lost Tyreek Hill, his favorite target, but guess what? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, so I don't think it's gonna affect him as much. And they even brought in Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah, he had a rough couple of years last 2 seasons in Pittsburgh, but 3 or 4 seasons ago, he was easily a top 15 to 20 wide receiver. So I think with him teaming up with Mahomes, I think they're going to be a great pair. And yeah, Mahomes easily number two for me.
You know, it's tough to argue against Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm still staying in the AFC West, and I'm going with Justin Herbert as my number two fantasy quarterback. Justin Herbert, over the past 2 seasons, 69 touchdowns to 25 interceptions in terms of passing the football. Last year, accumulated 5,014 yards. Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback. He's got plenty of weapons in Los Angeles, and I feel playing inside of that dome, a new stadium, that is also beneficial for him. Justin Herbert, I would expect him to go off again this season, and I think that the Los Angeles Chargers are improved as a whole, especially defensively, and I think that translates over to the offense as well. You get more possessions, you get more fantasy points as well. I'm going Justin Herbert as my number two. For number three, I've got Patrick Mahomes there. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, just like what you were saying, Patrick Mahomes, he's a fantastic quarterback. And outside of fantasy, it's him and Josh Allen are the top two quarterbacks. I've got him ranked as number three. I do feel the loss of Tyreek Hill really hurts. You have Juju Smith Schuster, which, yeah, that's a nice, solid replacement. And Travis Kelsey hasn't gone anywhere. So Patrick Mahomes is still an elite quarterback. He's still that one of those top guys. For me, he's number three.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with your pick with Herbert at two. I think what separates Herbert and Mahomes is a better scrambler, and for fantasy, I just value the dual threats way higher. So I'll get into Herbert later, though. I've got him in my list as well. For my number three, I'm going Lamar Jackson. Yeah, this is not a running back tier list. This is a quarterback tier list. And I feel like this guy's overhated. I know he's only thrown over 3,000 yards once in his career, but I don't know. I think he's going to have a career year this year. And speaking of dual threats, this guy is the ultimate scrambler. So I love those fantasy points with his leg. So I think there's still weapons there. And yeah, I think he'll have a great season still. I'm not concerned with Lamar Jackson. I think he's just overhated.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, he's got some nice tight end targets, and that's what he likes to do. And of course, running the football, he is he's that guy to run the football. I mean, no one runs the football quite like Lamar Jackson does. Reminds me a lot of Mike Vick, but for me, he's not in my top three or four. At four, I've got Matthew Stafford, the defending Super Bowl champion, Matthew Stafford at quarterback. He's got plenty of targets, and Matthew Stafford last season had a fantastic year in his first year in a Rams uniform. 41 touchdowns through the air, 17 interceptions. He's got Cooper Kupp, who led the league in receiving yards last season. So I'm gonna go with Matthew Stafford, and again, he's playing in a dome, so I feel like airing it out for Matthew Stafford should not be an issue this season.
Wow, yeah, I thought the Herbert one was kind of bold, but this Stafford one is even bolder. I don't even have him in my top six. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for Stafford. But for number four, I have your second pick, Justin Herbert. And like I was talking about, honestly, the only thing that separates him is his scrambling is just not as good as my top three. So that's literally the only reason why I have him at four. He's got great targets there, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I think he's gonna have a great year. He's been improving in his 2 years that he's been in the league. He just threw for over 5,000 yards. So yeah, I think he'll have a great year, especially like regular season wise. I think he can even lead the Chargers to their first playoff berth in a while. So yeah, Justin Herbert, definitely top four for me.
Yeah, I think without a doubt he has to be top four. I mean, this is the guy who he reminds me a lot of Josh Allen too. They're about the same height, about the same weight, and what we saw with Josh Allen going into his third year in the NFL, that's the year he had his breakout campaign. Justin Herbert, he's already shown what he can do, and he's already got the offensive weapons that he's familiar with. So I'd expect heading into year three, Justin Herbert should only get better. Absolutely top four for me. He's top two though. At number five, I've got the GOAT, Tom Brady. And some people might think that I'm crazy for having Tom Brady on one of these top six fantasy quarterbacks list. But I mean, the numbers don't lie. What he did last season, the numbers speak for themselves. And he's the GOAT. I mean, he's the GOAT. So it's hard to go against Tom Brady as long as he's playing in the NFL. He's got plenty of targets as well. Mike Evans, he's got Chris Godwin. Going into this season, 45 years old, I'm still not going to bet against the 45-year-old man.
Yeah, that's another surprising one for me, but honestly, I kind of like it. I feel like Brady's always undervalued in fantasy drafts because he doesn't have that dual threat ability, and I feel like a lot of people look for that. So yeah, I could see him being a top five quarterback for fantasy, definitely. But my fifth guy, another dual threat, I'm going Kyler Murray. Yeah, I know he got that stipulation removed from his contract that he had to do 4 hours of studying, but I'm still not worried. This guy is a great fantasy quarterback, at least. Like, we all know he has great starts to the season, and you might be concerned with him not having DeAndre Hopkins for six games, but I've got no concern over that. Like I said, he starts off the season really great, and they brought in Marquise Hollywood Brown. Rondale Moore, I really liked his game last season. He's going to have a bigger role now that Christian Kirk and AJ Green are gone, I believe. So, yeah, I think he still has good targets there. Zach Ertz is still there. And yeah, he's just a great fantasy quarterback in my opinion.
Kyler Murray, really? Okay. I mean, I respect it. I wouldn't go there, but I respect it, Mete. Does it worry you that they have to play the Rams defense and then they have to play the 49ers twice each?
Yeah, that's definitely worrying, but I don't know. I think I'd still roll with him. Like, if you're really worried about matchups like that, I you could like draft a backup later in the draft and play those play your backup when you feel like your starter has a bad matchup. But honestly, when I draft the top six guy, I'm not really worried about matchups. I just roll with them every week except the bye week or if they're hurt, obviously.
Yeah, you've got to have confidence if you're going out there and getting one of these top six quarterbacks. So you got to play these guys consistently. For number six to close this out, I've got Lamar Jackson, and Mete touched on it earlier. Lamar Jackson is that guy at quarterback that runs the ball like no one else. Lamar Jackson, MVP campaign a couple seasons back, and sure they lost Marquise Hollywood Brown, but they've got offensive weapons still. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, their top offensive weapon is the legs of Lamar Jackson. He can do it all himself. Last season, he only threw for 16 touchdowns, threw 13 interceptions, but running the football is what he does best. I wouldn't hesitate to pick Lamar Jackson as a top six quarterback at all.
Yeah, for my number six, this one's gonna hurt to say it because if you can see, I'm a Cowboys fan. But I've got Jalen Hurts, another dual threat guy. I feel like he's another guy who's overhated. He's only heading into his third year and he showed significant improvements in my opinion last season, and they just brought in AJ Brown. So yeah, he's got a top wide receiver to throw to now. Devontae Smith is getting a year older, heading into sophomore year. Dallas Goedert's still there, a top tight end in the league. And yeah, they've got the second easiest schedule this year. That really works in his favor as well. So dual threat guy, easy schedule, and he's young. He's got great upside. I think he's an easily top six quarterback in my opinion
You
for
know, I really
fantasy.
like that point about the strength of schedule. They have the second easiest schedule in the NFL. Do you expect a breakout campaign from Jalen Hurts this year?
Yeah, I think he's going to continue improving. I see his touchdown numbers skyrocketing. He only threw 16 last year. So I'm expecting at least like 23 this year. So we'll see how things go though. The fans in Philadelphia expect results right away. So you might be right.
Absolutely, they do. They booed Santa Claus, so th- they're expecting great things from Jalen Hurts, and they know that the Carson Wentz project didn't work out. Jalen Hurts is now their guy. They've got their guy at receiver. They've got Dallas Goedert at tight end. Something that a lot of our viewers are probably going to be questioning are it's where's Aaron Rodgers on this list? Aaron Rodgers isn't one of the top six fantasy quarterbacks for either of us. That might be a little bit of a shocker for these viewers. Why didn't he make your top six, Mete?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big believer in the dual threat for fantasy. So I'd probably have him at number seven. He's not that good at scrambling anymore. Before in his career, he was pretty solid at it, but now he just rolls out and he either finds a receiver or he just throws it away. You don't really see him scrambling that much. So that's one of my main reasons. And the second one is Devontae Adams isn't there anymore. So I'm really concerned about that. I don't know who his go-to guy is going to be. If I had to guess right now, it's either Randall Cobb because they've got great chemistry or Sammy Watkins. He's pretty solid, but I don't think he's like a wide receiver one. So the lack of targets and his lack of mobility is my biggest concerns for him.
Yeah, I mean, we might get a lot of hate for this, keeping back to back MVP Aaron Rodgers off our top six quarterback list. But yeah, his arsenal of weapons has been depleted on the offensive side of the football. He had his number one target taken away. Devontae Adams is such a valuable asset. And You see him going, he's drafted in the first round usually. There's a reason for it. That chemistry that he had with Aaron Rodgers was amazing. And now his top targets, Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, that's a significant downgrade. Aaron Rodgers is still a fantastic quarterback. We're not taking anything away from that. We know he's a special talent, maybe the most talented quarterback we've seen take the field. But can he overcome not having these weapons? Probably enough to make the playoffs, but enough to make this top six fantasy quarterback list? I don't think so.
I'm interested to know who you have at number 8. Who would be your eighth best quarterback after Rodgers?
Number eight. Interesting. Okay. So after Aaron Rodgers, there's a list of guys. You could go with Joe Burrow. Joe
Mhm.
Burrow would be a guy. I think it's Joe Burrow. Other guys I was considering was Kyler Murray or Derek Carr. Even I really think that Joe Burrow is a stud quarterback. We saw him lead the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl last season. He's surrounded by offensive weapons, and I mean, Joe Burrow on the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a team with a lot to prove. Again, they went to the Super Bowl last season, and a lot of people doubted them. They are a team that got hot at the right moment, and they've probably heard a lot of people say that. Joe Burrow has had improvements on the offensive line in front of him. He's going into this season fully healthy. I'm expecting good things from him.
Yeah, that's a good point about people doubting them. I honestly still do. I feel like
I
they
do
kind of
too.
had a fluke run, but we'll see how things go. Um, I think for number 8 for me, I probably have to go with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you made great points. He's stacked at receivers. They've got Julio Jones probably as their wide receiver 4, and I know Julio Jones is not what he used to be, but man, if you can have Julio Jones as your wide receiver 4, you know you're stacked.
I mean, this is really going to be interesting. There's so many top quarterbacks in this league that the lists that we just provided, they're pretty, you can change them around, make multiple spins on them, and it's still, you could have similar results no matter who you end up drafting at the quarterback position. But I mean, Josh Allen is definitely that number one guy. And then after that, it's a list that it's interchangeable.
Yeah, totally agree.
I hope that everyone enjoyed this insight that we provided, our knowledge for fantasy football. We want to share it, and hopefully, this helps you in selecting your fantasy quarterbacks. Don't forget to go for Josh Allen. I don't care how early it is. You need Josh Allen on your fantasy team. I'm Jake Varcoe.
It's been Mete Makarnaci from the Pick Six. We'll see you guys next time.